Yesterday, Frontier Studios, makers of Elite Dangerous, announced they're going to do some layoffs. So let's talk about that, because let's talk about how I think they did it in the most horrible way that you could possibly do layoffs, and why people do layoffs the way they do, and kind of how this affects the game industry. So they're a UK developer. I've visited them. They were lovely people. They did not mean to do anything wrong, I'm sure. Like, they're absolutely generous and lovely people. I actually visited them and gave them kits and helped support them for their integration into VR for Elite Dangerous. I know they also do F1 Manager and look, Planet Zoo. Yeah, I saw those posters. I was like, oh, I've never seen that game. But okay. But they're 800 people. And those are the 3 games they're known for. 800 people. That's a lot of people. Valve is many less people and does, I'm going to say, a lot more. So some people just hire that way, right? They just hire a lot of people. And often it's a lot of junior people, giving them opportunities. So that's great, right? Valve doesn't hire junior people to give them opportunities. So sometimes that's why your studio gets so big. And I get that. And again, I'm going to say best intentions. We're always here for them. But they have a letter to investors because they're publicly traded, and they're like, "Hey, we're losing money, but we're gonna stop losing money, and here's how we're gonna do it." Right? So Frontier said the cost reduction efforts will be achieved through a recruitment freeze. Right? They're not gonna hire any more people. Hey, that's good, because then you have a natural fall off of people as they leave or retire or whatever. Right? Spending cuts, sure. Like that, you can cut some office stuff, or whatever. And unfortunately, it's the only nice word they say, redundancies subject to consultation. Redundancies subject to consultation. So it's not layoffs, that's redundancies. Those are cold, harsh words. People are going to be fired and lose their job at a company that they may have been working at for decades. And they're going to say redundancies subject to consultation. So they're going to ask somebody, hey, should we fire this person? Redundancies. Like that whole phrase, even in an investment document, should never exist, right? What you should be saying is, hey, we are also going to have to spend some money to make sure that we have placements set up for them, that we're making sure, they don't have to worry about the insurance part of it, so there's no COBRA issues, but making sure, how they're taking care of those people for, hey, if you've been here for 10 years, what does your parting contract look like, and all of that kind of thing, right? And think about the morale of being at that studio this morning and reading this and going, wait a minute, so is this outside consult? Like, who are we trying to impress to keep our jobs? How are we keeping our jobs? What are the rules for keeping our jobs? I mean, maybe they've talked more to the employees inside, but even that, like, that you have these unknown amount, right? They're not saying how many, but it's some unknown amount of people are going to be fired. And consultation, like, why even put that in there, right? Like, man up. I know man up's a bad phrase maybe, but like, own up to it. It's you. We are going to fire some people, right? But don't say that. Say again, we're going to part ways with some of our employees. We would care about them very much. We're going to help them, in their futures and, all of that. But this is probably, they're going to do it in drips and drabs, and so it doesn't become such a big news story, but it will also probably be worse that way, right? Or they'll do it on a whole big time. I don't know that. That's the future, but we won't predict that. But this is why companies like Epic do it the way they do it. Okay, sorry. So Epic laid off everybody all at once, and it was kind of a surprise. Now, the reason you do that is so you don't have this dread hanging over everybody, and that everybody on the other side of it knows, hey, we're okay. Now, you might say, that sounds horrible. Oh my God, I'm going to be, You don't expect employees to do anything really meaningful for a couple of weeks, because they're going to have to recover from that. But that does remove that dread. And they actually offered people really good severance, made sure they're set in insurance. Talking to some people who had been laid off from Epic, they really did treat their people really well. They had to do the layoffs. You can say, mistakes made hiring that many people, blah, 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 blah. Yes. But how they actually handled the layoffs was really well done. And somebody complained that Tim didn't own up to like his mistake or whatever. Nobody cares about sorry or anything else. What they care about is the numbers. They care about being taken care of. And that's what Epic did. And they did it all at once. They didn't have this dread. Like, don't have this hanging over people's head, especially as they're going into the holiday. Like, hey, honey, don't buy any Christmas gifts yet. Let's see if I'm still here in the new year. All right? So I hope they're getting feedback on this, and they're having some private meetings with their employees today, and talking about that. Now, so how does this affect the industry as a whole? Because, hey, my God, all these layoffs, how can I get a job? People are still hiring, right? So one of the weird things about the industry is it is almost doubled in size from 10 years. I have numbers for America. I don't have numbers worldwide that I trust because like China and everything else doesn't really report numbers in the same way. And so it's a little hard, but essentially staffing is almost doubled in 10 years. That's a lot of people. Now, it's a lot of hyper growth around the cheap money investment and saying we've got to become the biggest thing because everybody thinks you have to be the biggest thing to survive. And they may be right. But there are still a lot of jobs out there. So while this sounds scary, and this is a lot of people over the course of the last couple of months, don't be disheartened. There's still a lot of people hiring. We're not hiring yet because we are one of those people that are hunkered down. We are in war mode or whatever. The VCs like to call it to make you feel tough, but it's like, no, yeah, we're just, trying. But yeah, there's still a lot of jobs out there. You can still do okay. Yes, there's probably gonna be a lot of people worried about hiring. They may start turning that spigot off of the hiring part. And we'll see. But it's not the end of the world. It is just the industry is so big now that sometimes these are going to happen. And for everybody who lost their job, I do not mean to minimize that. That is a hard thing when you get that surprise and you get that, and especially you're a good worker, you've been doing everything well, it's not your fault. And remember that with all of this, right? It is a numbers thing. It is not your fault. It is not a reflection of who you are as a person. We'll figure this out, right? But as an industry, there's still hiring going on. You can still find jobs. And I know it's hard. And so I wish everybody the best because we get into the holiday season in the US, really is once November starts, Thanksgiving's coming. I mean, I started at Valve then, but it's a rarity and normally it's not until the new year. So best of luck to everybody out there.